We're going to have a nice meditation this morning on gratitude. It just seemed appropriate somehow with all what the world is going through these days, and particularly in this country this week. Sometimes we lose sight of what we have to be grateful for. So I thought it would be nice for us to experience this meditation. So let us close our eyes. Take a nice deep breath and relax. Relaxation is a very important stage of meditation. If we aren't able to relax our three bodies, then we won't gain the whole value of meditation and what it brings to us. So let us make sure that our physical body, emotional body, and our lower mind are all peaceful and in a state of serenity. And once you are there, then in your creative imagination, create in your mind a place in nature which brings you joy. Perhaps a mountain, an ocean, or a lake, or a place in the forest. A place of beauty. And once you find that place of beauty, next find a nice, serene place to sit. It is important to sit in a state of calmness, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Use your creative imagination now and visualize that you are sitting in light. Let your mental body, which is all around your body, inhale the light and exhale it, purifying and strengthening itself. And do this very slowly. Inhale the light and exhaling the light, purifying and strengthening itself, your body. Now think about the spirit of gratitude. Imagine yourself being grateful. See how your physical body looks and see if you are grateful for your body. And then check how your emotions are. See how you feel when you are grateful. And then how your mental body acts when you are grateful. How does your mental body act when you are grateful? Now think about the quality of gratitude. What does the quality of gratitude do? Does it make you active and excited, busy, or emotional? What does the quality of gratitude do? Or does it bring rhythm and harmony and integration into your system? Now think about the purpose of gratitude. What does gratitude really exist for? Is the purpose of gratitude to heal or maybe expand your consciousness? How can you use the spirit of gratitude to reach higher levels of beingness? Now think about the cause of gratitude. From where does it originate? Does gratitude originate from a greater source? Or is it a fabrication of your imagination? Really, how does gratitude come into being? And now ask yourself, how can I manifest or express gratitude with my actions, emotions, thoughts, or creativity? How can I manifest or express gratitude with my actions, emotions, thoughts, and creativity? And now we'll take a minute in silence to allow what you have created in this morning's meditation to become absorbed into your consciousness. In silence, allow what you have created in our meditation this morning to become absorbed into your consciousness. And now, slowly bring your consciousness back to the room and open your eyes. We don't usually put our meditation up on YouTube, but I think we will this time because this particular meditation is reflective of what I'll be talking about this morning, which is meditation. This is part 2. Last week we had part 1. Meditation is such a gift. I was recalling Friday, when this past Friday, and I had a 2-hour international conference call on a GoToWebinar, and we always start our meetings with a nice meditation, which lasts about 20 minutes. And the meditation that we engage in is a very advanced meditation. And it came at such a wonderful time because I was saturated with the news about what took place in Boston and in Texas. And it's so easy to become caught up with the tragedies and the horrific events that took place this week, that we lose sight of the higher worlds and the beauty of the higher worlds. And meditation just brings us right back to remind us that our time on earth is transitory. It is a time to take advantage of every single minute so that we can train our 3 bodies in such a way that the atomic structure, the cellular structure, not only increases in light, that the vibration, the momentum of the atomic structure increases in such a way that we become more radiant. And in that radiation, our soul begins to function in the higher realms. It's very interesting to see what happened. In one sense, it is like what occurs to us when we go to a concert, symphony orchestra concert that's performed by one of the best symphonies in the world. We become mesmerized. We're so focused. We're so concentrated. That music, which was composed by a master of music, lifts us into the realm of the higher mind and maybe even beyond. And we're so focused in the light and love and beauty of that music that almost the physical material life disappears. Then we come back into our waking consciousness again and have to fight our way out through the crowds to find our car, and then the traffic to get home and so forth. But that moment in time, we never forget it. It stays with us. And this is why the arts and creativity is so important. And what happens with trained meditators is that the result of our daily meditation is we bring this creativity into manifestation. We bring that light from the higher worlds into manifestation. So the kind of meditation we do in the tradition of the ageless wisdom is the meditation that teaches us how to approach our soul. There are so many kinds of meditations out there. We know this. We talked about it last week, that there's meditation. People approach meditation so they can become healed, so they can relax, learn how to relax, and so forth. But this is a different kind of meditation. It includes those types of meditation. It includes a way that we can heal ourselves. It includes a way that we can cultivate calmness. But the difference between that and this is that when we put ourselves on a meditation path that leads us to the soul, is we become other-oriented. The majority of meditations inflate the individual's self-centeredness. And it's a stimulation. It's a kind of stimulation that helps a person feel who they are. And for a period of time, I think it is important to build our ego. We can't give it up if we don't have it. I was thinking of that music that Torquem wrote, throw your ego into the ocean and let it melt away. Well, if we haven't yet built our ego, then we have nothing to throw away. So some of these approaches to meditation are designed, to centralize yourself, to build your sense of purpose and sense of selfhood. But again, that's not the kind of meditation I'm talking about this morning. This kind of meditation is to take us out of our self-importance to the path of the higher mind, the soul, and beyond. So this approach to meditation takes advanced thinking and discipline and, above all else, concentration. It really asks for concentration and a desire to have communion with the higher worlds. The goal, this is from the teaching, the goal of meditation is a progressive awakening into our higher self. So the key phrase here is progressive awakening into our higher self, until our awareness is merged with the awareness of the whole. So this is how you can recognize this kind of meditation. So we've moved from self-centeredness to other-centeredness, and other-centeredness means that we are now developing our consciousness in such a way that we want to be of service to the world, to transform, to transmute and transform the consciousness of humanity. And we do that by our creativity, our creative efforts. Meditation is a process of touching or contacting that power or that treasury house that is within. Some people call it the Christ within, or that presence that is in the core of our beingness. And as we touch that core, our whole personality life, our physical, emotional, mental life, becomes charged with a kind of power that is otherworldly. It's not the power of bossiness and domineeringness and self-centeredness. It is a power that the great ones carry with them. The powers of Christ, the power of Buddha, the power of their advanced disciples. It is that kind of power. It's a transforming power, and that kind of power evokes joy, not only from within ourselves, but within our environment. Our physical, emotional, and mental vehicles function through the energy coming from our soul. So this tells us that if we are meditators on this particular path of meditation, we will have a lot of energy, and this energy is called psychic energy. And this psychic energy comes from the light of the higher mind, which we also call the capital S soul or solar angel. Now, what happens with the kind of meditation that we are talking about here this morning and that we experience here this morning, this kind of meditation is a process of formulating and translating impressions and ideas that are given to our mind or poured down into our mental environment, our mental sphere. And if we register those impressions, then we're challenged to take those impressions and put them in some kind of manifested form. So you see how different this kind of a meditation is than if you're approaching meditation strictly to calm yourself, or strictly to heal yourself. It's very, very different. So meditation is a noble tool that helps us to think and act and speak and write, even write more creatively. Creatively means in accordance with the highest good for all of humanity. I was looking at a piece of artwork on Facebook this morning that had been painted by someone that's a relative that I've just met, and it looked like a Picasso painting. It was all red, and there were symbols and figures and hands and everything, and it was all red and black, and it was so angry, and I just wanted to reach out and paint it all over again. and I was thinking, okay, so this individual obviously has a lot of talent. I mean, it was an incredible piece of art, but it didn't uplift me. It didn't inspire me. I didn't feel joy. I wasn't mesmerized like when you go into a museum, particularly like the Nicholas Rourke Museum in New York City, and you go into that incredible museum and you're just met with colors and sound and beauty that is otherworldly. So my experience has been when I go into that museum, it's like I'm shutting off the rest of the world, the material world, the earthly world, and I go into the higher worlds. When we can write and create and produce art and music and books and even buildings based on the other worlds, that's the result, that's the effect of trained meditators, those who are on this particular path or approach to their soul. It is so incredible. It's just so beautiful. And we have the examples all around us that for some reasons, somehow, these examples cause resistance in others. And I think it's because they're so used to being influenced by anger and materialism and the dense part of life that it's almost painful. It's like when we come out of a darkened room into like out of a movie theater in the afternoon, and we go out and the sun is, in full radiation, and it hurts. We have to, close our eye. I think that's because so much of humanity has been exposed to such dense ideas and concepts and concerns that it is painful to look at beauty and to experience it, at least for a while. But meditation, those of us who are trained to think with this kind of meditation in our day-to-day life, we have the ability to change the consciousness, the other world. So this kind of meditation does not send us into the caves of India. It brings us out into the streets of New York, right? And says, let me bring beauty here. Meditation, true meditation, breaks the limitations which attachment imposes on us and on our life. These attachments that we form because of fear. We're afraid that there isn't anything out there that's better or higher or greater or of a more beautiful resonance, that this is it. So we become really attached. We're attached to our car, we're attached to our home, we're attached to our friends, we're attached to our trees. And we don't know that there's something even greater out there. But this kind of meditation lifts our consciousness in such a way that we move into what the purpose of life is. And in that purpose, we gain direction, and in that direction, we find our soul. So our soul leads us to people and places and books and events to whom and through which we learn and expand and follow the path of our inner calling and fulfill our creative urges. The mental plane, let's talk a minute about the mental plane. The mental plane is a level of consciousness that we are now challenged to conquer. And when I talk about the mental plane, you know that there are 7 sub-levels to the mental plane, 7 subplanes. Well, those, what Richard was talking about in his reading this morning, that 3rd, 2nd, 1st, higher subplanes, that's the plane of consciousness that we're trying to conquer. We're trying to understand, we're trying to explore, and we're trying to be. And that trying to be means that we are trying to change our whole beingness into the consciousness of that level of life. Okay? So at the highest point, at this highest point, what occurs is that a magnificent lotus comes into formation. And this lotus acts as a point of inspiration. And from that inspiration, if you have the eyes to see, you see a lotus that is multicolored. It is so beautiful. Colors that we can't replicate right now. And light that is so incredibly beautiful that it's not a hot light, it's a cold light, if I can say that. And when you're around a person who has created this kind of magnificence in their beingness, you want to be around them. You want to read their books. You want to bathe yourself in the beauty of their creativity. It brings you joy, and it helps you realize that, wow, life really is a gift, and that this gift must be respected and taken care of. The goal of meditation is not only the transformation of our nature at present, but to also enable us to pass from our human nature to our divine nature. Once we have made this breakthrough, we will discover that a different life exists beyond the level of human life. So, if we look at just by example, the paintings of Nicholas Roerch, they're otherworldly. They're otherworldly. We have a painting in the back called the Mountain Tent, and we have the Mother of the World, and we have St. Sergius. All these paintings, and we've got the one back there, all these paintings remind us of the divine nature of life. We have plenty of reminders outside in the world, of what the dense world is all about, right? But see what happens if we haven't yet built that bridge from the lower mind into the higher mind, we'll just see a painting. Oh, that's pretty. Look at the pretty colors in there. Isn't that nice? But when your consciousness is functioning in that, in the beauty and that power and that treasury of your higher mind, you're going to come up and you're going to see like a Mother of the World. And you're going to see the little bodhisattvas. You're going to see the symbol of the Milky Way. You're going to see the lotus and the Mother of the World sitting on the lotus and what that means. There's so many symbols in there. You're going to see the Mother of the World coming to the planet. It is so magnificent. So we have to have the eyes to see. And the way we have such eyes, such vision, is through the process that we put ourselves through by undergoing this meditation approach. Through meditation, soul contact is established. And we, the disciples, strive to bring the radiation of that contact into our daily life expressions. What happens when we make contact with this great light that we're calling the capital S soul is that eventually we become magnetic, and eventually our aura becomes so magnetic that we begin to record impressions from the plan of our spiritual hierarchy, and even from Christ himself, the head of hierarchy. We gradually adapt all of our life expressions to the divine plan and function as a disciple of Christ, the head of hierarchy. So meditation is a process in which our inner guide watches. It watches us, that inner guide watches us, and our threefold nature, to see how that threefold nature of our personality is unfolding, or where are we stuck. The soul pours down light, love, and power into our consciousness and into all those personality lives, our physical, emotional, and mental body, until we become fully awakened, fully illumined. And at that point is when we have soul infusion. Now, I'm going to move to another stage of meditation. After we've gone through and experienced all of these changes in our nature, then we can take the next step, which is into what's called occult meditation. During the time of occult meditation, our threefold personality, threefold, that means the physical, emotional, mental life, must be aligned within itself infused with that soul in the higher mind, aligned and fused. So we've gone through the integration process, but now we must align ourselves and fuse with the soul. We start doing this through relaxation. This is why this morning I was trying to focus on our meditation to really relax, really develop that sense of serenity. And at the end of our meditation, giving time so that we could assimilate all those ideas and impressions that came as a result of the answers to the questions we were asking. What happens through relaxation is we withdraw our attention out of the threefold personality. So even if our physical body is itching, we're not aware of it. Even if our emotions might be a little down, we're unaware of it. Or even if our lower mind is trying to throw up all kinds of objections and wants to get the day going, because we have aligned now, we've relaxed and we've aligned to the light of the soul, we have withdrawn our consciousness from these three vehicles. In other words, we've cut ourselves off from the electricity or the energy of the physical, emotional, and mental bodies. And when this happens, what we're doing, and this is where the healing comes in, is that we're resting these three bodies in a state of harmony. It is our attention that keeps our machines going objectively and subjectively. So when we withdraw our attention, our consciousness from our physical, emotional, mental body, and we are now focused in the light of the higher mind, we're still generating energy into those three bodies, but those three bodies are no longer controlling us. Attention is a flow of concentrated energy from various levels. When we pull up or shut off the electricity of our attention from our lower nature, they stop bothering us. The noises stop bothering us, and the disorders stop bothering us. And this is done by calming them, and then by withdrawing our attention from them and concentrating ourselves on the subject of meditation, or seed thought meditation. Immediately after this is achieved, the soul light is released into our threefold vehicles, making them vibrate in resonance to the note of this soul. And the teaching tells us our soul has a note. Now, this is the note of the egoic lotus, we could say, or that jewel in the lotus. There is a note, and there will come a time, and maybe some of you have already heard that note. And then what happens? When you hear that note, you hear the harmony of the physical, emotional, mental bodies, which form a chord. 3 notes, which form a chord, which is part of the keynote of the soul. It's very musical, it's very beautiful. And this is what soul infusion or soul fusion is. In this process, which is the process of alignment and integration, we are withdrawing our attention from our threefold personality. In the next step, we are pouring forth the light or sounding the note of the soul, which is the process where we are fusing the bodies, our physical, emotional, mental bodies, with the soul, and creating a shield without which occult meditation would be dangerous. Meditation is performed on the mental plane and in the light of the soul, and our aim is to expand communication in both the objective and the subjective worlds. See, both, not just the subjective, but both the objective and subjective worlds. There's our balance. In occult meditation, we meditate on the events while we are focused in the higher mind, where we can stand above our reactions and control those associative functions. Are you with me? Okay, good. The most important point in occult meditation is to take that event and put it like a microscope under the light of the soul's plan. Under the light of the soul's plan. And see how you can utilize the experience of it, because the manifestation of your soul's plan throughout your life. How can you find the plan? Well, it is there in the sphere of the higher mind and in the heart of your inner guide. Through occult meditation, you will penetrate deeper into that sphere and find the plan, upon which you are then going to construct your life event. And in this case, the life event is your life from this point forward. When I was thinking, oh gosh, it was many, many years ago, and I had a dream. It wasn't just a dream, it was a dream. And in that dream, I was given an outline of what the rest of my life was to be. And that was given to me by that capital S soul. Imagine that, having the whole plan of the rest of your life given to you. But it was given in an outline form. So I had to begin to formulate A and B and C underneath 1, and then 2, A, B, C. And then you hope that your formulation is accurate. And if it's not, you see, because you're off center, or the rhythm is off a little bit, or the note is a little flat in relationship to your soul note. As we continue our meditation, the whole tapestry of our life will emerge more clearly to such a degree that we easily know what to add to make it more in accord with the higher worlds. This tapestry is woven by many threads coming from the physical plane, from that astral and mental plane, and also threads and designs coming from your inner guide, or the true self, using all the threads for the plan of your individualized self within the limits of your karma and virtues. Now, this may come as a surprise to you, that meditation, a major sign of success in meditation is communication. A major sign of success in meditation is communication. Communication is the main factor in meditation, through which we expand our field of contact with the higher planes, with the higher centers, and also higher beings, according to the intensity and purity of our meditation. So, what we're learning here is that there is no real meditation until we are in contact with our inner watch. Evidence of contact is intense concentration. If you find you're having difficulty concentrating in your day-to-day life, then you're out of balance. So you need to make adjustments and tweaks and this and that, and maybe your diet is off. It may be you're not resting enough. We're supposed to have depending on where we live and depending on the elevation of where we live, we should have at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep, uninterrupted sleep. So concentration is so important, particularly in meditation. You know, this is what I hear from so many people, is that I just can't concentrate. My mind, you know, is just bouncing or my thoughts are just bouncing all over the place. I can't stay concentrated. Concentration in meditation means that our outer world ceases to be. Our outer world ceases to be. Concentration is the ability to, I'm repeating this as I said earlier, is the ability to withdraw from our own physical, emotional, and lower mental world and focus our consciousness in the light of the soul. In meditation, you're going to slowly learn to come out of your body. If you are steady and regular in your meditation, you will also be able to come out of your emotional and mental bodies and focus on the light of your soul. Now, I must say something here, because this is a subject that comes up periodically, that when a teacher asks you to stop meditating. I know in actually half a dozen cases where the teacher told the student, don't meditate for the rest of your life. And of course the student's going to have a lot of resistance, but if the student understands meditation, they'll understand with this kind of meditation you have to be in health, good health. Okay? But there are other things we can do. We can still study, we can practice the virtues, we can engage in service, but we want to heal our bodies in the process of that kind of activity, so in our next life we can reconvene and once again engage in occult meditation, where we will slowly learn to come out of our body and focus ourselves in the light of the soul. And it is here where our concentration becomes very intense and very pure. When one dies, he is unconscious if he has no contact with his soul. If he has contact with his soul from the astral plane, then that being will be conscious on the astral plane, but will be unconscious of the higher planes. If he has contact from the mental plane, he will be conscious on both the astral and the mental plane until he passes away. And I won't go into that, there's no time. But you can think about it, you'll figure it out. If the person has fused with the soul, then he will not need to be occupied with reflections, and he will participate in events that are going on in any plane or in the spiritual realms. Now, because we're out of time, I need to give you these points for your own meditation. There are 5 points I want to share with you that you can use once a week, but only once a week during your meditation, for a while anyway. Later on, you can use this approach to your meditation more frequently, but for now, it's better just to do it once a week. At the point where you begin to meditate on your usual seed thought, instead of taking that seed thought on the subject of your soul's plan, you're going to do this. There's 5 points. Silence is the first. Listening is the second. The third is registration. The fourth is formulation. And the fifth is expression. Now, let me repeat this. Silence is 1, listening is 2, registration is 3, formulation is 4, and expression is 5. Silence is a process of cutting the conversation line between your personality vehicles and their corresponding spheres of expression through an increasing rate of radiation. So you move into a silence, an absolute silence, so that there is an increase of radiation. Then you move to the listening point, which is a magnetic tension, in which there is no conditioned thought, no logic, no memory from the lower mind, no conditioning thought. We're just listening. So listening is a magnetic tension. And the third is registration. Now, some of you are going to recognize this because we have, in our group, we've engaged in periodically meditations like this, where we move into the silence, we have that listening experience, and then we try to register contact with the part of the plan that is related to us. Now, we're talking about our own soul plan, or the plan of the group, the soul plan for the group. It may be registered on the higher mental plane as pure impression, a great beauty, a challenge, a sense of responsibility, or it may register simply as a hint. The fourth is the formulation, and this is where the hard work comes in. Formulation is the process of adapting the sensed plan. And interestingly enough, this is where true meditation starts. It is a stage of the personal relationship with the plan of your soul. And the success of your life depends on the right formulation and adaptation of the plan as he senses it, just like the dream that I had, so-called dream. Then I had the challenge to formulate it and adapt it according to my understanding of it. And the fifth is expression. Expression is putting into action the formulated plan and relating it to your day-to-day life, your day-to-day activities, and expressing it practically in your daily relationship. Okay, I don't see any questions. That's good because we really are a little out of time here. We're going to run a few minutes over, but we can do that. Okay, I will take questions from here. Do you have any questions? Correct. Yeah, if you blank out, you're not going to hear. This listening is, like I said, it's an intense, it's a very intense experience. And usually I will share this much with you. This is where you will first hear the note of your soul. But it doesn't come in words necessarily. Okay, but this is where you're going to hear the note of your soul, is at that point of listening. Any other questions?
Could you please say more about how, as we progress, we can change the consciousness of humanity?
Yeah, it seems pretty profound, doesn't it? It's such a profound statement that how can one individual, change? Well, maybe the best answer is if any of you are watching what happened in Boston after the 2 bombs exploded, and subsequently listening to some of the stories of the people, what comes to mind is one of the doctors, a doctor that was part of the marathon. He just continued running on beyond the finish line to the hospital. changing the consciousness of humanity. He didn't stop to think about himself. He took the inspiration perhaps that he built during that time to meet a need. Others that said, came to the aid of those who had become dismembered. And without thought of self, they ran into the area where the bomb had exploded. They didn't think of themselves. So that changed the consciousness of humanity. How did it change? Fearlessness. Oneness. This is my brother. This is my sister.